Netanyahu does have a far-right government that doesn't have broad public support, that isn't stable, and so isn't able to actually decide on what its long-term intentions are, because the far-right of the government will want to resettle and reoccupy the Gaza Strip in its entirety, whilst the partners who are there just for the duration of the war, Benny Gantz, center-right party, is not going to necessarily support that. And so he faces a huge political challenge now. So we don't actually know what the long-term intentions are.
South Africa has submitted a case at the International Court of Justice accusing Israel of engaging in genocidal acts in Gaza. Israel has strongly rejected the allegation. Hamas says that 21,000 people have been killed so far in Gaza during the war. Let's speak now to Danielle Bett, who is from Yachad, which is a British Jewish organisation whose mission is to empower British Jews to support a political resolution to the conflict. Good morning to you, Danielle.
Good morning.
What is your reaction to this case being brought by South Africa?
I mean, I don't think it's just about this case. I think it's the broader concern of the international community for what's happening in Gaza. I'm not an international lawyer, so I can't wholeheartedly use different terms like genocide and so on. I think the question is really about what is Israel's long-term intention for the Gaza Strip. Obviously, there has been mass destruction, mass death, huge loss of civilian life, innocent life. But the question is, when is this war going to stop, and what is Israel going to do long-term, not only with the Gaza Strip, but does it have any intentions for the population of Gaza in the long term?
Do you feel that enough planning is being done for the day after the war?
No, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, there is military planning that will be reported, but what we do know is that the official government meeting to discuss the day after in Gaza was supposed to be held this week. That has been postponed, most likely because Netanyahu's government is a very unstable government. It's really easy to forget that during this war because politics isn't the focus. But Netanyahu does have a far-right government that doesn't have broad public support, that isn't stable, and so isn't able to actually decide on what its long-term intentions are, because the far-right of the government will want to resettle and reoccupy the Gaza Strip in its entirety, whilst the partners who are there just for the duration of the war, Benny Gantz, center-right party, is not going to necessarily support that. And so he faces a huge political challenge now. So we don't actually know what the long-term intentions are.
We've talked a lot with representatives from the Israeli government who've talked very much about wanting to have a moderate Palestinian group governing the Gaza Strip. Do we have a sense of who that moderate group is and who would be acceptable to the Israeli government and indeed be in a position to actually hold that power?
So I think the only real option is to speak with the people who are in power in the West Bank at the moment, and to also change the way in which the Israeli government operates. So we would be looking at Fatah Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. But we have to remember that for under Netanyahu, his policy with regards to Gaza and to the West Bank has been to strengthen Hamas in order to weaken the Palestinian Authority and thus remove or reduce the chance of there being a Palestinian state formed. And so it's not going to be an overnight process where simply Fatah can take over. It's going to have to require a lot of work with the international community, a lot of rebuilding damage that's been done, and also, of course, assurances from Palestinian leaders that they're not going to incite, that they're not going to reward terror, and going to be able to work to keep Israel's borders safe as well.
Thank you for speaking to us this morning. I'm grateful for your time, Danielle.